Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. 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 Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody. Yesterday also we got an email. Question and answer both are known to us. But just like we repeat all our routines every day, brushing the teeth, going to the toilet, taking the bath, eating food, all these things we are changing our dress. We don't feel monotony. So similarly, our intellect or mind may say we have already heard this. Just like what all we do in the normal routine. That means to keep the body always fit. Similarly, we also do something by which the mind and intellect also make fit to receive God thought, to become receptive to God dimension. This devotee from abroad says, Papa taught that we are not the doers of our action, but God is. Yet, our ego seems to be the real source of many of our actions, especially the selfish ones. I am confused. Can you clarify? So, Papa's quotation is the greatest obstacle in realizing the self, capital S, is the sense of doership. When you find the action is done through you by the divine power, the sense of doership disappears. With the result that the ego sense also disappears. That instant you realize God. When you find the action is done through you by the divine power, the sense of doership disappears. With the result, the ego sense also disappears. That instant you realize the self. Intellectually you can understand all this. What you have pointed out is the real problem faced by all spiritual atheists. Intellectually we all know this. So there should be always some hammering that should go on, connected with our day-to-day life. Not an utopian ideal. Not something that somebody has told us. But it should be directly linked with our daily life. Probably that effort might help us. Spirituality reveals that we are not the owners of our objects, emotions and thoughts. Objects is there only when I perceive, when I see. So the seeing capacity is given by the spirit. The moment the spirit is not there, the perceiving capacity is not there, perception is not possible. So spirituality reveals that we are not the owners of our objects, emotions and thoughts. Even to have emotions and thoughts, we need to have the spirit, Atman, the mysterious power, as Papa calls it, which cannot be defined, which cannot be brought within the ambit of knowable. We start thinking about it. How immanent, how close, how near is that power with us, even now and here. So spirituality reveals that we are not the owners of our objects, emotions and thoughts. Then who is the real owner? The following observations may help to reduce the dominance of the sense of doership. When we come to this world, we don't bring anything. So when we leave this world, we cannot take anything. Ownership is something that, suppose you come to ashram, you will be carrying a baggage. Naturally. Here when we came to the mother's womb, we did not bring anything. Not even a dress. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Which fact we don't know. We have been told that as soon as the child comes out, the first sign of life is the crying. If you don't hear, everybody is tensed up. Absolutely nothing. The first year when I don't know that, after 2-3 years I don't know what is that, 3 or 4 years. What had happened to me I don't know. But now I know that I existed because of the air. Everything that enables us to live and everything that is needed is provided by that great power. Who is the real owner? Through two institutions, Mother Nature and society. Air to breathe, fundamental things. Especially now when the COVID comes, everybody knows about oxygen. Previously we were not aware of the relevance or role of oxygen in our life. The pulse meter, what is it called? Pulse oximeter. We put it here now. What does it show? The saturation 98, 97. Previously it must have been 40, 50, 60. Then you struggle. The oxygen is there everywhere. But the capacity to breathe in, and if the oxygen is not there, especially immediately after the COVID or during the COVID, not only that oxygen, what do you call that? Cylinder, oxygen cylinder or something will be there, to give us oxygen. Otherwise, by ourselves we cannot do it. And it's a costly one. Then only we realize how God provides everything free of cost. Please think over. The moment I am born, till this moment, through Mother Nature, He has been providing the basic fundamental thing called the oxygen. Not only to me, 700 or 800 crores of human beings, crores and crores of other beings. Just think. It is inexhaustible. Just because the population goes up, the oxygen stock is not depleted. Mysterious. So air to breathe, water to drink. Everybody they have an open well or a bore well or a reservoir. In metropolitan cities there will be a reservoir. Just think about it. Do we do anything else? Earth to exist. Did we bring any of these things? Space to move about. The body temperature of 98.4 degree, to keep us alive. All gases, metals, minerals, vitamins. We are experimenting in ashram and to have a small, very small medicinal plant garden. Maybe 50 will be there. Then only we understand, then we got books, from what is called 5 volumes. More than 500. Each one has got medicinal property. that which is right now before us, we may not know the medicinal properties. Many scientists have discovered, invented, innovated so many things from it, and it is useful for us. We are not creators. So these are all provided by Mother Nature to everybody equally. Then, all our creature comforts, food, clothes, shelter, medical needs, education needs, field of employment, all creature comforts like paste, brush, soap, pen, phone, computer, clipper, nowadays computer, anything you name, anything, glass, table, chair, fan, light, anything that makes our life comfortable, even the language. Have we thought for a moment whether we have done anything for that? The same mysterious power has delivered everything to us through many of His creation. His chosen creation, called scientists are an ordinary farmer or an ordinary person, literate, illiterate, automobile, anything. So as a person, when I think, I have not brought anything, and I am what I am because of the factors other than. Apart from these objects, we have also been given emotions, thoughts, to choose, enjoy, and to keep. Apart from these, we have also been given emotions, thoughts, to choose, to enjoy, and to keep. Therefore, everything and everybody belongs to Him. When we know that everything is His, we show our gratitude to Him by expanding from me to we, and loving and serving His creation, which is loving and serving Him. Expansion expresses itself in the form of quality, care and concern in all that we think, in all that we talk, in all that we do. We develop for His creation. Because Creator is very difficult. Creator is the subject. But creation is an object. To get in touch with an object is easy than to get in touch with the subject. So first we will establish our harmonious relationship with His creation. That is why Papa brought it out in a simple, most simple word. To love all is the true bhakti of God. To serve all is the real worship of God. Very simple word, but profound. Because through His creation only, I am existing. That invincible power, that invisible power, that mysterious power delivers everything to me at every moment through His creation. So first I extend from me to we, and then we to Him. The question we should not forget, we are not the doers of action, but God is. Yet our ego seems to be the real source of many of our actions, especially the selfish ones. So how to reduce its dominance? These are some of the ways by which when we keenly observe, when we keenly contemplate, intensely when we dive deep, probably we might be able to understand that He is behind. So the way pointed out by our master for the expansion is the triple sadhana of Nam Dhyan Seva. Chanting of God's name, who stands for love, who is the real owner. enables us to remember the real owner always. Developing communion with the indwelling God by way of a dialogue with Him, at least for a short time daily, links us with the real owner. Bringing in the God dimension behind every activity in our daily life in the form of is very important. A touch of love, a touch of reverence, a touch of gratitude, a touch of perfection in every thought, word and deed makes us feel the presence of the real owner. All our activities will then become seva because they are not self-centered but God-centered. If we thus hold on to Nam Dhyan Seva with this perspective, we will be able to lead a harmonious family life, conscientious professional life, and a responsive social life, fully aware of the fact that He is the source of all sources, the real owner. To get ourselves stabilized in Nam Dhyan Seva, probably a little bit of withdrawal is necessary daily or periodically. Because no field is taboo, everything is His creation. So every day when we set apart some time for these three and try to extend it in throughout our waking state, so that we have to withdraw, no? Normally, immediately after the bath, we go to the puja room. That is the very purpose, the tradition. That is how the seed is sown in our mind. Connecting ourselves to a higher power, subservience to a higher power, glorifying Him, doing puja, doing namaskar, applying a little bit of the prasad offered, kumkum or sandalwood or vibhuti. These are all some signs, some symbols through which we connect ourselves. Not that it is a must, but this can be tried. Subservience to a higher power. Because we are trying to reduce the dominance of me and mine as much as possible. We keep on, we should know the Nam Dhyan Seva, how does it enable us to expand? So that it doesn't slip into an activity, a ritualistic form, a superficial lip level activity. No. It is for expansion. Expansion from the small, limited, finite individual to the cosmic span. First, intellectually I should know, emotionally I should get myself linked, and then experientially I must link myself. So these are some of the ways by which we can try. If we observe, that way the following observation may help to reduce the dominance of the sense of this. So every day when we are alone, we can just think where we breathe, where from it comes, who is providing this, who is sitting inside and making it to receive, and this pumping in, the air. It vitalizes the whole body. We all know this, but we don't know that. So somebody develops a gasping problem, struggling for it. Immediately what we do, we take him to the hospital. Then the cardiologist, they immediately see the angiogram. They find some, what do you call it? Block. Immediately angioplasty is done. Recently also one of the ashram devotees. And then what is the sign? Gasping, struggling to retain. We know this, but we don't know this. Immediately after that we forget about it. The great provider is providing me this, I forget. When there is some problem by which this is made manifest, I immediately rush to the doctor, rush to the hospital, get myself treated. And as soon as I get treated, when I'm normal, I again forget the great provider. People call it as Maya or something. Okay. But now as spiritual aspirants, we are trying to become aware. How, we don't know. This is the truth, This is not a this is a verifiable truth, beautiful word. Every one of us can verify, It is not that there's a dictum, dogma, or somebody says you should believe. No. We can look at ourselves. So the question is, all that we know, but still the ego, will say, immediately after this hearing, you will forget about it. We do yoga. In yoga, utmost concentration, focus, attention, everything is being developed. Our level of concentration goes up and up. Breathing exercise is there, we closely watch. But still, after the yoga exercise, the ego is becoming stronger and stronger. Yoga itself means union with God. We have limited to some physical exercise, to make us fit. But actually yoga means union with God. So the body is the resident, bhoga ayatanam, and so it has to be kept healthy, clean. So that is why we do some exercise. And at the end of it, we relax our whole body, we relax our whole mind, and then try to have a glimpse of the presence of that spirit, Atman. We have to deeply think about it. Every day, every moment is not possible. Okay, every day we set apart at least 5 to 10 minutes and think about all these things. You have provided all these things, but for it I will not be able to exist, but still you make me to forget why. And make me to arrogate that I have done this. Even to do a particular thing, I need life, which is not created by me, the so-called me. Jivanam sarvabhuteshu. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I am the life in all. So whatever we are doing, whether it is Nama chanting, whether it is bhajan, whether it is dhyan, whether it is satsang, whether we are reading, under the banner of spiritual discipline, we should be very, very clear that it is to link ourselves with the reality, capital R, so that we don't compartmentalize these activities. Because of this compartmentalization, we have disconnected it from the common run of life. That is why all of us are struggling. It has to be reconnected, reconnected with the run of life, on daily life. It's a tough job for all of us because our mind is conditioned by so many concepts. About the me and mine, about God, about spirituality. And we have set apart some time, some day, some particular occasion for connecting ourselves, and rest of the time we are disconnected. In the Speak Ramdas, Papa says in the last portion, if we keep on going deeper into it, we will slowly try to, it should not be disconnected with the common run of life. He says, man is not merely what he appears to be, a bundle of flesh, bones, blood, skin, nor a creature living and acting solely under the impulses and thoughts rising from the mind. We have to recognize that beyond the exterior dynamics of the body and mind, very important, beyond the exterior dynamics of the body and mind, there is within man the spirit which is immortal, Atma, because of which we are now reading, we are hearing, we are seeing, called life. Spirit might be a big word. Simple word is capital L-I-F-E, life. It is by the power of the spirit or the life that our life is activated in its manifold expression. In the classroom, hospital, office, marketplace, factory, field, as well as in temple, church and mosque. We should tune ourselves with the spirit. So no field is taboo, no compartmentalization. So this Nam-Dhyan Seva should enable us to make us aware of the presence of the spirit in whatever field we are made to engage ourselves in. That is why in the last, it is mentioned here that if we thus hold on to Nam-Dhyan Seva with this perspective, we will be able to lead a harmonious family life, a conscientious professional life, efficient professional life, and a responsive social life. These are the three tiers through which we express ourselves. Morning when we get up, we are a part of the family. When we go to the field of profession, we become a part of the professional world. And when we are with our friends, we are in social life. So family life, professional life, social life. These are the three tiers through which an individual expresses himself or herself. There we need, peace, harmony, joy. So this Nam-Dhyan Seva, with the right perspective, that means we should be vigilant that it does not slip into a ritualistic form. For ages we have seen that. Initially we come with all enthusiasm, later on it becomes a ritual. It doesn't make any deep impact. It doesn't touch and kindle what it is supposed to touch and kindle in us. So if we thus hold on to Nam-Dhyan Seva with this perspective, we will be able to lead a harmonious family life, conscientious and efficient professional life, and a responsive social life, fully aware of the fact that He is the source of all sources, the real owner. So this last portion we have to keep on bringing, so that we will demolish the barrier between spiritual and worldly. We may mentally demolish, but again the wall will come again. We have to recognize that beyond the exterior dynamics of the body and mind, there is within man the spirit which is immortal. It is by the power of the spirit that our life is activated in its manifold expression. Mental, physical, mental, intellectual activities, All these things are possible because the life force is there. And that life force is called the Atman, the Brahman. In the classroom, whether I am a teacher or a student or a ministerial staff, hospital, whether I am a patient or a doctor or a paramedical staff, office, whether I am a boss or whether I am a clerk, whether I am a CEO, whether I am doing the menial job, in marketplace, whether I am a trader or a consumer or a producer, factory, whether I am a real worker or the supervisor or the owner, and field, whether I am a cultivator, whether I am the supervisor, real worker, as well as in temple, church and mosque. Whatever we try to connect through temples and worshipping places, we in our mind we have reverence for that, Same attitude should be extended to all these fields, so that we don't put the barrier. And how do we express it? A touch of love, a touch of reverence, anything, not only human beings. A touch of gratitude, a touch of perfection. Whether I cook, whether I clean, whether I sweep, whether I wash, whether I handle a project, whether I am supervising, whether I am doing HR work, whether I am having an association, residential association or this association or some social organization, I bring in this touch of love, touch of perfection, touch of gratitude, touch of dedication, touch of reverence. Then we are slowly trying to express the child. This will all definitely help us to reduce the dominance of me and mine. We must see the mysterious power behind it. While acknowledging the creation for having given us, anybody who does it, we acknowledge, we appreciate, we have reverence towards them. But at the same time, we should also develop the reverence towards the power behind it. Normally, we respect the individual, we respect the situation, we respect, the objects when it is favorable to us. But here we fail to connect with the source of all sources. It has to be, all my spiritual practices should zero to this. And it should start right the moment I get up, Because to train from the minutest is necessary, not from the grossest. We may revere a saint, we may revere a book, a grantha, a shastra. But what about the brush we use? What about the broomstick we use? If we don't develop from the tiniest, we will not be able to reach the grossest. If we start from the grossest, unknowingly we may ignore it. That is how it can happen. That is why we have not been able to appreciate the oxygen giver, the water giver, the space giver, the earth giver. The sun, just imagine. We hardly recognize its role in us. But today it is not there. When we start, dull day, boring day, no activity, no appetite, no feeling for drinking, no feeling for, But the moment the sun is there, we become active. Everything gets vitalized. But do we recognize? Initially we were not at all recognizing. And we started recognizing when they started about this solar power, solar light. Then only we knew that. And later on, when we get in touch with the scientific and technological progress, when we associate and come to understand that the solar energy is the one which vitalizes me and everything. So he is there in that form. That energizing capacity, So we have to recognize that beyond the exterior dynamics of the body and mind, there is within man the spirit which is immortal. It is by the power of the spirit that our life is activated in its manifold expressions. To quote a few, he said, in the classroom, hospital, office, marketplace, factory, field, as well as in temples and mosques, we should tune ourselves with the Spirit. Divine thoughts and feelings should permeate us. This is from the human progress last, but even the first aim of life. He says, the microcosm is the macrocosm. The individual is the universal. God dwells in every being and thing, however small, in his entirety and perfection. Think not in terms of the individual, but always in terms of the universal. Your life is intended for the service of all. The expansion of the individual into the universal is possible only when God thought rules your mind, God love fills your heart, God's will governs your action. Whenever you see anybody, you must see not only the external form, but also the indwelling reality. It is not merely in holy persons and places that you should see God, but in all, everywhere, even in the marketplace. You must always feel the divine presence in and about you. So these are all some of the ways by which we can try to reduce, contemplate. We may fail, we may forget, because the me and mine is strong in all of us. So it is a tough job. But by bringing this regularly, systematically, you can slowly erase its thickness. And we slowly become aware of the great provider, the mysterious power. So we all pray to him now, who has facilitated everything, who has facilitated us to think about him, to give us the right guidance from within at every moment of our life, so that we become aware of the source from which we have all come. At the moment, still we have caged ourselves in me and mine. Intellectually we will know, but experientially, that means when we deal with men and matters, we can watch ourselves whether this me and mine is predominant or me to we is predominant. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai. Hari Om, Hari Om, Pranam, Namaskara.